So being in a very ghetto setup, as you can see, this is going to be a very raw OBS recording because I'm on a trip. I'm in California, by the way. So yeah, that's a fun thing. But I wanted to tell you a few things after the new Inside Infinite dropped of the world. We finally have our first look at the world of Halo Infinite. And this is honestly the update I have been waiting for, bro. I read through this live on Twitch, and that was a good time. But I have some things I want to point out to you. One little nugget. But before that, Samurai Kibiji, if it's your first time here, just subscribe. Or if you've been here a couple times and haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Like to build the game hype with you. And Halo Infinite's one of those games, and State of Play I missed. But let's hit something of a little note that is, I'm not even sure if I can find it here, but there was a note in here. And again, this is Inside Infinite. To sum it up, this was about the world design. We had a lead art person, we had a lead level design person, and we had a lead gameplay person. Justin, Troy, and John here went over a lot of things about the world that is Zeta Halo and what goes into Zeta Halo and just the behind the scenes and stuff. But one of those things in terms of gameplay was multiple equipment. They confirmed in this, and to me, I'm starting off with the biggest note, honestly, because I was literally telling my stream that they just put in a really big nugget here, and that was that there's multiple pieces of equipment that you could use at once as you traverse this world. They asked them about how the grapple hook works and how that's going to impact, player movement and stuff, and they're like, well, there's not just a grapple hook, but there's 3 other unique pieces of gear that you can have at once and be able to bounce around between them. And I'm like, whoa! You can have multiple of these things at once? And to me, that was kind of the biggest note about this, because having, grapple hook is one thing, but having multiple at the same time is quite the insane feat to think about. Like here, it says, beyond the undeniable fun of the Grapple Shot, you can carry around another 3 pieces of equipment with their own unique rules and utility that you can quickly swap between at any time. That statement is one that is gonna be one of the biggest game changers for Halo ever. Seriously, this game is so ambitious, but I admit I'm a little bit on the fence about that, because, I don't know. I don't want Halo to get too crazy, being able to bounce around between, say, some kind of physics bending thing and then grappling and then you have like a boost thing. I don't know. But that's the first and biggest nugget in my opinion in terms of gameplay. But let's talk about what the actual update is about, which is the world that is Zeta Halo. And to explore that world, there's multiple means, but this is very, again, just raw and unstructured. But at one point here, we had Joe Staten came in, and he wanted to talk about how you can capture a Banshee and fly to a floating ring across a gap of stars. And that note is insane. That's insane in terms of exploration, because does he mean, say in this screenshot here, you are able to fly across the entire space of the ring? Or does that mean just literally in that sandbox? Because he says a floating ring fragment. If you could actually fly up to a floating ring fragment, that's a big deal. That's a very big space to cross that you could just do so with the Banshee. He also mentions, like, towards the end of this, like, is Halo Infinite necessarily an open world game? He talks about what is Halo Infinite. Is it an open world game? It's not. He says it's more so the most open and adventure filled Halo we've ever made. It's still on its structure, but we just wanted you to have the most options possible in the sandbox. And that as an option is quite the insane one, if true. There's so much stuff on paper that's absolutely insane. But something else that we got in this is the day and night cycle. We got our first look at the day and night cycle, and it was quite a great, that's honestly to me my favorite screenshot of the entire thing. My favorite screenshot of the entire thing was our first look at the day and night cycles. They explain how that can actually change the atmosphere as to how certain things are presented, which is a good point. They kind of like try to point this as an example where, at nighttime, a foreigner structure that you come across could seem a little bit more ominous than when you see it during the daytime where it looks all peaceful and bright and stuff. That's a good point. That could completely change the atmosphere of what you find in the game. So day and night cycles, man. And also something that they do note in this as well is we got a lot of campaign shots in this. We got a lot of campaign shots and a couple of concept art shots, but they're all rendered in PC, which is going to be in the April update. That's another thing that they confirmed in this, is that the March Inside Infinite is still going to be about audio, but the April one is going to be about the PC version of the game, and I'm really curious what they have to talk about with that. But all the shots we saw today was in the PC version, and yeah, this day and night cycle business has me really curious because I'm so glad we finally got to see it. All these clouds, all the clouds are in different locations. As you look at this, the clouds are moving as the day and night shifts, and we actually have day and night cycles. There's so much ambitious stuff in this game, and this is definitely one of those things that I'm like, it's pretty crazy. Like, can you just imagine playing co-op with your friend and it's like, dude, that's a forward structure, let's go in. I'm like, it's nighttime. So let's go. Like, there could be flood in there. What does that matter? I don't want to deal with flood at nighttime. So that's a good point. That's a good point. So it could create a much more different atmosphere depending on what time of day it is. But speaking of kind of the flood and what's on paper and stuff, we actually got something in this, which is Cortana. They actually talked just a little bit teasing at the story elements of Halo Infinite. And that is that, you know, they got asked this question, which is basically like, how do you try to make Zeta Halo a character in this? You know, you have Master Chief, you have the pilot, you have Estratum or whatever. And so how's the Ring a character? And, you know, they state here towards the end, players will not only experience the immediate story of Chief's reawakening to confront the Banished and Cortana, but if they look around, they might find glimpses of the future as well. And there's other things in this bit, but I found it interesting that they finally pointed out that Cortana, like, we knew that she had to be part of this game, because they're not just gonna completely disregard what they did to her in Halo 5. But I like that they actually had, you know, they officially said it here, like, the Banished and Cortana are going to be something you're dealing with in this game. And I appreciate that they said that, because I honestly, but I feel like I wanted them to affirm it to us, so you got that a little bit here. But they also say more about this, like, I love the show not tell mechanic, and they're saying mostly important, there's an epic visual story to be told, not only what recently happened, but also one that implies its mysterious past and implications it holds for the future. So there is some things about the ring itself that you're definitely going to be discovering and seeing, you know, not only from its past, but how it can affect the future and the present stuff, and how the Banished messed up the ring. So you got a bit of some details about, not the story, but like how Zeta Halo has been affected by the story, as well as Zeta Halo's impact on, you know, the future of Halo. So that was another neat little detail I wanted to highlight. And there's so much else that I could point out in this. Like, they keep teasing at, honestly, I could probably control find ... There's a point right here. They continue to do this teasing thing. They continue to do the teasing, which is the grapple shot is super fun and traversal options it provides, because they get asked, like, how was the grapple shot, you know, for you as a developer? Like, was that scary? Was it exciting? And dude, they point out that the grapple shot really makes a lot more things possible, and it's terrifying. But they tease at something here. It also allows for pulling weapons to you, pulling an explosive fusion coil to you that can be thrown to take out a shade turret, or grapple to what? And launch yourself into an enemy to land a powerful attack. Like, what were you gonna say? What were you going to say? There's so many things like that in each of these Inside Infinites that they're just teasing. They're teasing at these little things, these big things that we're not aware of. And whenever these fusion coils come up, dude, they have something they're hiding. They have something big they're hiding, because he was about to say something here. But there's a lot of stuff in this, you know, like how the grapple shot and other movement mechanics might, you know, it really makes for a harder to program Halo, because you can attack a banished base, which they show concept art here at some point right here. You can attack a banished base from any direction you want. You don't have to go in to the front gate, and that's going to be the really interesting part about this Halo, being that you have to, you don't have like a set scripted linear campaign you're going through. You actually have like a golden path you could follow, but you could approach it in any way. If you want to go stealthful in this place, sure. If you want to do some recon, if you want to drive up with your Marines and go guns blazing, go for it. Like, there might be an underground tunnel that you could kind of take into. Like, there's so many different ways, and from any direction you want, you could tackle this thing. And so that's why I didn't really think about that until this Inside Infinite. This is not a linear game. That's basically it. This is not a linear campaign for the first time in Halo. Halo 1, in my opinion, was the most open, but you still kind of had a path of travel, you know what I mean? So this is a very different Halo, as Joseph states, and they are going to be spending the rest of the time just debugging. They got asked, you know, like, so as we come closer to launch, what are you going to be working on and focusing on? And they're like, you know, kind of like the Sandbox team said, we're basically done with the game. So from this point forward, we're just going to mostly be focusing on fixing the bugs, no T-posing AIs and floating trees and stuff. They want to just work on making it the most polished they can, which is awesome. That is great to hear. They probably, the way they talk about this game, it really seems like they could have released it when they intended to, but it would have been a shit show. It would have been a complete shit show, and I'm so glad that they got another year to make it absolutely just polished up. I'm not saying perfect, I'm saying polished, which is great. But yeah, there's a lot of... This, to me, is probably my favorite screenshot, because you get a good look at the HUD, and again, potentially that idea of multiple gear you can switch to. This radar still looks sexy. I love it. There's portions of it, and that arrow, I want that north, south, west, east stuff, but that arrow might be the closest thing to get to them, man. This update overall, I was really pleased with it. It's a really cool one, and I was happy to read through it on Twitch. Seeing the day and night cycles, the attacking from multiple directions, and just even concept art, and the flying through the sandbox. And like this example, you know, you'll probably be able to ride on this. This is kind of like an upper highway, but let's just take the scenic route, you know, or the lower route. There's so many ways to explore this world, and I can't believe how ambitious this game is with its world. And the final screenshot, really, like, if you zoom in on a lot of the ground, it's crazy. There's literally like five bases here, and a UNSC ship in the background, a different structure. There's a couple foreigner stuff. There's a lot of things on the ground of this, but guess what? You can just fly across the freaking space if you want to. It's crazy, man. Let's chat about it in the comments. Leave your comment. And subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's build up Halo. Hopefully I'm going to talk with you about Ratchet and Clank and Kenna Bridge of Spirits soon. And don't forget to be Geek Proud Awesome and leave your thoughts on the update in the comments below. I left out a lot, but those are the things that I took away from it. And yeah, stay awesome.